Andrea, will you please call the roll?
Good morning, everyone. Calling the roll for the Monday, February 25th Board of Control meeting. It is now 11:01 a.m. We have Nan Baker, Dale Miller, Trevor Macular serving as an alternate for Dan Brady, Mike Dever, Maggie Keenan serving as an alternate for Armin Budish,
Here.
Lenora Lockett, Angie Rich serving as an alternate for Dennis Kennedy. We have a quorum.
Okay. Reviewing the minutes from February 19th, are there any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, I motion to approve. Do I have a second? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Any public comment?
No public comment at this time.
Okay. First item, please.
And no tabled items.
Oh, sorry.
First item, item number BC 2019-140, Department of Public Works, submitting an amendment subsidiary number 2 to a contract with Great Lakes Construction Co. for the Towpath Trail Stage 1 from Harvard Avenue Trailhead to Steelyard Commons in the city of Cleveland for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $89,862.26.
Nicole English with Public Works. So this is an increase to the construction contract of the tow path, and it's mainly for utility conflicts that were encountered in the field that had to be adjusted then as far as the drainage items, so catch basins and pipes that had to move. So this is a federal aid project, and the county does not have any construction money in it. We're just running the construction, so it's being paid for 80% out of federal funding, and then the 20% local match is coming from the city of Cleveland. And this does have to go through ODOT for approval first, so ODOT approves it first, and then we're presenting it to you.
Any questions? Okay, I move to approve the item. Is there a second? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Item's approved. Next item, please.
Next item, BC 2019-141, Department of Development, recommending an award on requisition 43201 and enter into a contract with Community Housing Solutions in the amount not to exceed $50,000 for emergency furnace repair / knob and tube electrical replacement services. And it's for the period February 1st, 2019 through January 31st, 2020.
Good morning, Ken Surratt from the Department of Development. This is our 2019 award to Community Housing Solutions for emergency furnace repair as well as knob and tube repair is allowed as well. That started a couple years ago now. This is completely federally funded with our Community Development Block Grant, and we would like the period from February 1st, 2019 through January 31st, 2020.
Any questions? I make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Item's approved. Next item, please.
Next item, item number BC 2019-142, Department of Information Technology, submitting an amendment to a contract with AT&T Corp. For session initiation, protocol, and transport and security services in connection with the wide area network and telecommunication for the period June 1st, 2014 through December 31st, 2018 to extend the time period to June 30th, 2020 and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $495,000.
Janelle Green, Department of IT. This item is actually for voice over IP services. So this service allows us to get not only additional services, but also the actual dial tone for using the phones that we all have throughout the county. This cost is actually estimated on what we've actually spent over the last number of years versus what the previous contracts were for. This is actually about when actually factoring in the cost, it's about $200,000 less per year than what we originally budgeted for. So we did budget for what we would actually use from that contract.
Any questions?
What is session initiation protocol?
So it is for the ability to use the voice over the phone. So last week we presented the internet service provider. So that's the ability to transfer data back and forth over the internet. This will allow us to get the dial tone to make phone calls in and out of the county.
Any other questions?
And with the contract that we approved last week, I believe it was, in finance. There's no overlap there as to what that contract
No.
with AT&T and this one does?
No,
Even though
they're
different
totally
in many
separate.
ways.
Mhm.
Two totally separate.
Yes.
If I may just ask, on the dates of this ended at the end of December, knowing we were going to continue. Is there a reason why we're at the end of February for?
Well, unfortunately, it took a long time for things to get signed on AT&T's end. Like I said, even with the internet one, we started like significantly way back in September. So the ability to get signatures on AT&T's part took a long time. So even though this was an extension and an amendment, it did take a long time on their end.
Would the contract then begin as of today?
No, because we're amending the existing contract, so it would start once this one ended. So essentially January 1st.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I move to approve the item. Is there a second? All those in favor? Any opposed? Item's approved. Next item, please.
Next item, BC 2019-143, Department of Information Technology, submitting an amendment to a contract with MHC Software, Inc. for enterprise resource planning, printing integration software licenses, support, and implementation services. And it's for the period October 27, 2016 through October 26, 2021, to expand the scope of services by adding a positive pay module and associated maintenance effective February 25, 2019. And for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $8,505.
Janelle Green, Department of IT. This particular module allows us on our end to format direct deposit files. So when we're transferring money to banks, so they're in the right file format for those transactions to happen once ERP is implemented.
Any questions?
Just one. So we were told not long ago that we may see some licensing fees come out of the contingency piece, but this one actually is not.
That one is not. So the other licensing fees, that will be the Sherpa. There's some $0 costs associated to changing out the licenses coming up, but that one will be the Sherpa, which is the business objects, which allows us to generate reports out of the ERP module. So this one will not be.
Okay, and that Sherpa will be down the road.
Yes. Actually, it's in on-base right now. I believe it's in contract review right now.
Thank you.
Okay, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Item's approved. Next item, please.
Yeah.
Item BC 2019-144, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services, Witness Victim, recommending to amend Board Approval Number BC 2014-301, which authorized an amendment to a contract with BZT Acquisition LLC for lease of space located at 75 Erie Plaza in Cleveland. And it's for the period June 1st, 2014 through October 31st, 2019, by changing the additional funds in the amount not to exceed from $152,279 to $219,029.
Good morning, Mary Beth Vaughn from Public Safety. And this is the lease for the space that is used by the Family Justice Center. And in 2014, there was an amendment that extended the contract period through October 31st, 2019, as well as authorized improvements to the space that totaled $219,029. However, the action that was approved by the Board of Control and the amount that appeared on the contract cover was the lower amount of $152,279, and that's leaving a shortfall on the contract, and that money is needed to pay for the lease through the extended period that ends on October 31st.
Any questions?
I guess why was there a difference? Why was there a difference between what was asked for and what was approved on Board of Control?
Honestly, I don't know. Unfortunately, this predates anybody who's now in public safety in a decision-making capacity. If I was to speculate, and honestly, it would be purely speculation on my part, I would speculate that what they probably did was look and saw that there was a projected balance on the contract and reduced it by the amount, overlooking the fact that they were actually extending the contract by the 5 months.
I see.
But like I said, that is pure speculation.
All right, thank you.
Just had a question on the plan, not necessarily on this item, but what's the plan after October 31st? Have we started the discussions about what we're doing with the lease?
Yes, we are actually working on an extension with the lease. The current contract has to extend the contract for another 5 years. We've been working with the landlord since last fall, and Public Works actually has a document that they're working on with the landlord. I believe it's actually with the landlord for execution.
We just know it's expiring on October 31st, so
Yes,
we've got to start planning now.
they're all over it.
Any other questions? I move to approve the item. Is there a second? All those in favor? Any opposed? Items approved. Next item, please.
Next item, BC 2019-145, Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile Court Division, submitting an amendment to a contract with Specialized Alternatives for Families and Youth of Ohio, Inc. for respite services in connection with the Domestic Violence Prevention Coordinated Approach to Low-Risk Misdemeanors, the CALM program. And it's for the period July 1st, 2016 through June 30th, 2019, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2019, to change the terms effective February 25th, 2019, and for additional funds in the amount of $12,000.
Good morning, Sarah Baker, Juvenile Court. This is just an amendment to our current contract with Staffy, who's providing our respite services for the CALM project. This amendment is just adding in some additional grant dollars, the $12,000, as well as extending the time out through the remainder of this year. The change in terms is simply, currently right now what is happening is the kids are being assessed in our detention center. So the respite provider is expected to come to the detention center to pick up kids. Going forward, the vendor is going to be picking the kids up from Applewood over on Daisy Avenue, because they are the ones that are completing the assessment. So instead of coming to us, they're going to go to Applewood to pick up the kids.
Any questions? I move to approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Items approved.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Next item is a two-part item, item BC 2019-146, Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department, A, submitting an RP exemption on requisition 44794, which will result in an award recommendation to JNS Foods LLC in the amount not to exceed $1,044, and is for the purchase of 60 50-pound bags of long grain rice parboiled, and B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Hi, Laura Sims with the Sheriff's Department. The reason that we are having this here instead of, it's usually in the consent section, we had an ordering error and additional rice was ordered and delivered. It's perishable, we couldn't get rid of it. It's also one of those things where we can use it, so it's not going to go to waste. However, the invoice came in at more than what was originally allowed, so that's why we have to bring it forward now. I have Sergeant Schillinger here with me. His department does the ordering. He has taken steps to make sure that it doesn't happen again, but if you have any questions, we're happy to answer those.
Any questions?
In the grand scheme of things, this is not a big deal.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the process we have to follow, so that's what we're doing. So, but we will make sure the issue happened is that Sergeant Schillinger was on vacation. The person who ordered it has now more training, so it won't be an issue, hopefully, moving forward. Okay?
Just a comment also, absolutely, thank you for coming forward and letting us know so that it's not something we found out later down the road. So we appreciate you being here.
That's it? Okay. I move to approve the item. Is there a second? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Items approved. Next item, please.
Next item, item BC 2019-147, Department of Health and Human Services, Community Initiatives Division, Office of Early Childhood, recommending an award on requisition 44643 and enter into a contract with Jaggy Cleveland Independence LLC, doing business as Holiday Inn Cleveland South, in the amount not to exceed $7,706 for rental of space, refreshments, and related services for the Invest in Children annual meeting, and it's for the period May 16th, 2019 through May 18th, 2019.
Good morning, Marcos Cortez with the Office of Early Childhood Invest in Children. Again, this is a contract with Jaggy Cleveland, doing business as Holiday Inn. This is the vendor we chose to host our 2019 annual meeting, which will take place on May 17th. It will feature Dr. Stephen Hannon, who is the president of LENA, a nonprofit organization focused on increasing adult-child talk to improve child outcomes. This represents the lowest and best bid we received for this meeting.
Any questions? I move to approve the item. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Item's approved. Next item, please.
Moving on to exemptions. Item BC 2019-148, Department of Health and Human Services, Cuyahoga Job and Family Services, on behalf of the Department of Development, recommending to amend Board of Control approval number BC 2017-804, dated November 6, 2017, which amended Board of Control approval dated Board of Control approval number BC 2016-892, dated November 28, 2016, which approved an alternate procurement process and exemption from aggregation on various requisitions and resulted in award recommendations to various providers in the total amount not to exceed $4.5 million to reimburse employees for employee wage and training expenses in connection with the Learn and Earn program for the period January 1st, 2017 through December 31st, 2019. They are now amending the approval letter by amending the procedures for reimbursement for program participants effective February 25th, 2019.
Morning, Greg Huth with the Department of Development. This is a little bit of inside baseball. The process we were using before as we were reimbursing employers resulted in multiple department orders exceeding that $25,000 limit. So this makes it clear on the record for everybody to see that we know that's happening, and that's the process that we have to follow in order to reimburse the employers. We wanted to best make sure everything was in line with the requirements both of the legal department and OPD. This doesn't change anything. I don't think it says it's going to appear before the board. It doesn't change any of the dollar amounts of the contracts that we have in place or that we will put in place.
Are there any questions?
I have one, if you mind. Just curious on the comment that was made for the Skill Up program. I believe it says this amendment also indicates that employers may begin training their workers prior to Board of Control approval. So what does that mean? What safeguards do you have if you're going to prepay before we approve? How does that work?
To the council, we don't prepay.
Okay.
I think the point is, in that comment, is that yes, we know that they're going to start paying, but they know they can't get reimbursed by us until after the approval comes through here.
Are we assuring them, though, that they may begin training their workers prior to Board of Control? Are we assuring them that they will be paid in case there could be?
No, Councilwoman, no. They understand that they're proceeding at their own risk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? I move to approve the item. Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item's approved. Next item.
Moving on the consent agenda items number BC 2019-149 through 153.
Are there any questions about these items?
On item number 150, this is the $0 change order for the new system we're using for the financial piece for the ERP system. As we know, the original plan failed the testing. Failed the integrated system testing, and we had to come up with Plan B. So this is an important item that helps keep the ERP project moving forward.
Yeah, you'll want to approve that, please.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
and
yes,
Plan B, just for the record, is better than Plan A. The BFM system is phenomenal. So this works out to our advantage.
We're excited that this came together so well. This was one of the positive items we had in our last ERP report.
Any other questions? I move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Items are approved.
We're moving on to other business. We do have one additional item. Item number BC 2019-154, Department of Law. It's a two-part item. A, recommending to amend board approval number BC 2019-139 dated 2/19/2019, which authorized an alternate procurement process, which will result in an award recommendation to an electronic discovery vendor and related legal services in the amount not to exceed $140,000 for temporary attorney services for the period February 25th, 2019 through February 24th, 2020, by changing the procurement process type from a request for proposals to a request for bids. And B, recommending the award on RQ 44947 and enter into a contract with Alliance Legal Solutions, LLC, in the amount not to exceed $140,000 for temporary attorney services for the period February 25th, 2019 through February 24th, 2020.
Good morning, Jonathan McGorry with the Department of Law. There have been a number of updates since we last met last week, and I just wanted to give you a brief update on those. Late Friday, we received information from the State Attorney General's office conducting the grand jury investigation, limited the number of records that they were searching for. We sent that list to our IT department. We weren't sure if, because they had started the process of downloading the data for us to the law department to review. We weren't sure if they'd be able to take that data, do an additional search, do the search themselves, and re-download the data. We were concerned with this because they started the process of downloading the data in the original request about a week and a half ago. They said there were some issues with Microsoft, some IT issues that went above my head. Quite frankly, and they said that it had been slowing down the download of the data to be able to share with the law department. So I was concerned that if they had to do a new search, even ideally with less information pulled, it would still take a number of days to get the data downloaded that it could be sent to the law department to review. So I spoke with IT this morning to see if there was an update. They did say that they would have to do a new search for the data, but they felt that since it was limited, that and hopefully Microsoft would be able to fix these issues, that it would be done a lot faster than the original download. So that being said, today the first item, item A, renaming this as an RFB. As discussed last week, the law department had a cap on the amount we could spend on outside assistance for e-discovery, so it was important that the law department go with the lowest responsible bidder, and going with an RFB process would allow us to do that. Though the process type would change, there'd be nothing about the bid, how the bid was posted or how the bids were requested would change. It would just be a matter of changing the title. I don't know if we want to discuss this matter, any other matters before going on to the approval.
Any questions?
All right, so John, real quick, how many bidders responded?
Three. Received 3 bidders, yeah.
And then can you just give me the range of the responses? I mean, where were we in the estimate?
So the lowest was $54,000 to provide 12 contract attorneys to assist with the review, just the review of documents. They wouldn't be doing any other, providing any other legal services. The other 2 provided a very robust software solution that would analyze the data, host the data, try to pare it down, do analysis on it to try to remove attorney-client privilege information, and that was significantly more expensive for the hosting of the data and the search. So the next lowest bid came in at about $250,000, and then the third bid was about $500,000.
Pretty wide.
Yeah,
range.
yeah.
So I'm a little confused on IT's response to you in terms of if we have these new search terms that the Attorney General has given the law department in order to comply with the subpoena, what IT is saying, what exactly? So if they ran these X number of search terms, they're saying it's going to it's faster? What are they saying?
So they're saying they'll apply the search terms, and it'll come up with a certain amount of data. So the first search didn't have any search terms to narrow it down. So it was a very large amount of data. And to move that data from IT's servers, I think they're servers, downloading it so they could share it with the law department, that's what was taking time. And they said that usually it only takes maybe a day or two, but because of issues they're having with Microsoft that they're hopefully ironing out, that typically it does run faster. So that was the explanation I was given.
So do we know, with the new search terms that were given, how many emails we're talking about?
Unfortunately, that's what I was calling them today to see if they had been able to figure that out. Because before I came to you and said it was about 800,000 to 1 million documents, I was hoping to get an update on that number with the search terms, but I don't have that at this time.
Because I'm a little uncomfortable moving forward with this contract as is, knowing that we have these new search terms that are out there. We don't know the volume yet. And, you know, last week at the Board of Control meeting, we were talking about having like a special Board of Control meeting on this past Thursday, and it didn't even hit the printed agenda. So from a transparency thing, I'm not comfortable right now moving forward, but mainly because we don't know what we're talking about in terms of the volume of emails. I haven't seen all the search terms. I can, you know, probably guess some of those that are in there, but if it came back where we're talking only 2,000 documents, that's, I think, a different story in terms of maybe being able to do it in-house, or we will need to hire a lawyer for one day or type thing versus a $55,000 contract.
Oh, understandable. I mean, I wish I could come here and give you all those answers. I was trying desperately to find them myself. The one fortunate thing is we could enter into this contract and not use any of the attorneys. We could decide, all right, like you said, we've discovered that it'll only be a smaller, manageable number that we can do in-house. One issue that the law department was happy about using temporary attorneys is that, though I don't have any concerns about the attorneys in our law department, you know, overreaching with the attorney-client privilege. There have been cases we've discovered where attorneys reviewing their own attorney-client privilege information, there had been claims that there was obstruction of justice, that you claim that privilege where it didn't really belong. And there are things we could do in our office where we have, you know, attorneys reviewing other attorneys. So I wouldn't be reviewing my own privileged information. Another attorney in our department would do that. So there are safeguards there, but having just a completely outside folks take a look at it gave some of the attorneys in our department some more comfort. But again, we wouldn't, if the information comes in, we realize we can do it with a smaller team, we wouldn't spend ideally any of it. But this does give us the option because another aspect is that though we did get some search terms to pare down the data, the search terms were provided for everybody's emails except for Armin's. So Armin's is they're still requesting all the data, all the emails from his account from 2016 on.
John, would it, I'm kind of stuck on we don't know what numbers I mean, what would it do if we waited a week and had a better idea of how many emails we're talking once we run those search terms?
Well, like I said, we may not even have the data for a few days since we got to do the new search. We would have Armin's emails. We were planning on just starting with his emails this week. So it wouldn't be the end of the world if we waited another week to get more information. And I'm the first to say that I want this to be a very clear process. I don't want it to look like we're trying to get something in quick and under the table or anything like that. I want this all to be above board. Thank you.
Could you say what accounts for the difference between the 56,000 that you quoted for the in the bidding process and the 140,000 that's the not to exceed number?
You want some more explanation for the cost difference?
Yeah, why is it not 56,000, because that's what you said came back on the lowest bid.
Yeah, the low bid came, I believe it was 54,000. And the reason for that was they were just providing attorneys at a particular rate and an estimated number of hours of review. So actually, if we did get fewer records, their estimate would go down and it wouldn't reach that $54,000, if their estimate's correct.
So if they're estimating 54,000, why are we requesting 140,000?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were referring to the second bid. Okay, we are requesting 140,000. That is the limit that's been placed on the law department for how much we can spend on outside assistance. Given that this isn't the first subpoena we've received, we thought, well, let's request the cap, and if we get a second, or at this point, 18th subpoena, that we would want these temp attorneys to review, we could have them review that information as well, as opposed to coming back to Board of Control and requesting an amendment for additional funds.
And are we intending for these attorneys only to work on subpoena response, or are they also going to work on public records requests, which are related?
We have no intention at this point of having them work on the public records. Since the public records request process doesn't have a hard deadline, it typically requires that we respond in a reasonable amount of time. We're not as concerned about getting it done as quickly as possible. So the temp attorneys that are coming in will only be working on the response to the subpoena.
And is the February 1st date for us to get all this information, or March 1st date, is that still in place?
That recently has been extended to March 18th.
Lenora, do you have a question?
No longer. Jonathan commented on the length of time and that it was for in case additional subpoenas occurred.
Two things. One is, I agree. I think if you can wait a week, I would prefer to wait a week so we can get a better explanation. Also, I think that even though you may have to come back again to Board of Control for continued funds, I'd rather see it that way.
Okay.
Than to just put
That's
a
fine.
number out there at the max of what can be given and, you know, and use it as you need it. But those are the two comments I'm going to make.
Trevor?
Jonathan, just one clarification question. I just want to make sure, I think that we're all talking about the same thing. We already turned over a bunch of emails to the AGs. We're only talking about the ones that, through law department review, red flagged certain email addresses, certain people where we believe attorney-client privilege or FMLA, HIPAA, all that stuff exists, right? So we've already fulfilled some of the requests.
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
we are only talking about the very latest subpoena.
I just want to make sure that we were talking about that piece versus every single email.
More question. So I just want to follow up. So this delayed another week. That's not going to be a problem for the law department?
My hope is that given the limited scope, the reduced scope of the search, gives us a little bit more, you know, it'll shorten the review time. So we'll have a shorter review time. Yeah, we'll have to wait a week. But given I really think it'll be a large reduction in the number of records we have to review.
I think it's also important to note that we were working under a March 1st deadline, which seemed extraordinary to try and meet, and now we've got 18 more days beyond that. So I think that takes some of the pressure off of the law department, even if you did wait an extra week.
Right.
Thank you.
One more question. I know this question doesn't admit of a precise answer, but I would assume that the executive's emails since 2016, that would be a voluminous product. Is that correct, or did he do very little of his own emails?
I would also assume, and again, I'm only assuming as well, I haven't seen the data, but ideally we ourselves could come up with some search terms to try to pare down. I mean, we have a list of all the attorneys that have worked here since 2016 that we could do searches for, and that would give us a much limited, we wouldn't be looking through spam emails and things like that.
Trevor?
Jen, clarification question too. Are employees who emails are being requested to, do they have access to see what is being turned over? If they ask, are the employees that their emails are being turned over?
Oh, the employees themselves, have they asked for the...
Or not if they asked, do they have access to it if they want it?
Oh, that's a good question. I know, I mean, you might be limited to what you have on your inbox, which I'm not sure however many years they keep that on your inbox before they put it over to onto a server and put it away somewhere. I don't believe we have general access to that. Anyone can make a public records request for that information.
I think what he's asking is, are the employees whose emails are being turned over going to see it before it gets turned over?
If they want to. Yeah, that's what I am asking. Yeah.
I don't believe so. I don't believe that's how it's happened in the past, but I haven't been, I was brought on because of the procurement process to do this. I haven't been involved in the previous subpoena, so I don't believe the attorney, nor I don't believe the employees themselves have been able to review or request anything. I mean,
I'm not familiar with the process in the past and whether or not they were given the opportunity. I am aware that we have had requests from the employees to review them prior to their release to the media, not to the grand jury, because I cannot slow down that process.
Yeah, to be clear, I'm not asking about a review, but in terms of media and stuff, just so they know what is being included. That's what I was wanting to make sure. Thank you.
So I guess my only question or comment would be if you are in fact really comfortable with waiting a week, because that makes me nervous.
Nora, introduce yourself.
This is Nora Hurley from the Law Department, and the level of comfort, we desperately tried to get a number this morning before we came to this Board of Control meeting, and the IT department, despite the fact of being given the additional search terms, it was at the end of the day on Friday, we learned that the download of the mass amount of data from the original grand jury subpoenas only concluded downloading at 3 a.m. last night. So they have not been able to run a new search. Following up on Jonathan's statement, we do feel, given the search terms, it will significantly narrow the production of documents. Not so much for Armin Budish. That is still open-ended, and they want everything and everything, anything and everything. So that will still be quite a process.
But Armin's emails are going to have a tremendous amount of privileged information. So my only comment, I'm not going to sway people either way, but this board approves quite frequently contracts that are not to exceed when you have little data as it relates to exactly how much is going to be spent or how many services are going to be required. So I would urge us to approve this on a not to exceed basis, with the law department reporting back as frequently as needed to provide additional clarification. But March 18th is not a long time away. And to let it go another week, I would be concerned about the ability to meet those deadlines. I know the media doesn't have to be done immediately, but reasonable can be subjective. I know it's been defined in case law, but we want to comply as quickly as possible. So I would suggest that we provide some sort of approval today.
I can add that if the board is comfortable moving for approval today, we can lower the cap. We were going to have a smaller number of emails to review, so the estimate provided should also go down. But if we want to reduce it from 140,000 not to exceed to 54,000 not to exceed, I would offer that as a way to ease. But again, that's if the board is comfortable moving forward today.
Madam Chair, I normally would agree. I just have the issue with we don't know what volume we're talking about, and I agree with whatever item comes forward. It should be the actual amount where the vendor believes it'll be 55,000, but I really think it's important to wait to see how many emails we're talking about, because in the end, it might not be that much. It could be a lot. I don't know that. I mean, we should know how many at least it is with the county executive right now, because his search terms haven't changed. But the other employees, I would just prefer to wait.
Yeah. And honestly, you know, like I stated before, there's nothing that would stop attorneys in the law department from getting started. I don't want to speak before I've talked to the director on this.
Down staff already.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? I'm going to move to approve the item. All those in favor? Oh, sorry, you need a second. Mike?
No, you have to go back. We have to amend the agenda
goodness.
to introduce
Okay.
the item.
I move to amend the agenda to include this item. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
The agenda's, but to amending the agenda?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And so now I'm going to move to approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Discussion.
Oh,
Are we using the $54,000 number or?
I am completely comfortable with the 54,000. If we want to, if someone would like to move to amend the agenda to reflect 54,000 not to exceed.
Okay. I move to amend the agenda to change the amount from 140,000 to 54,000. Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the agenda's been amended. Once again, I'm going to move to approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
I oppose.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is the medical examiner's office here? And another additional item, but it doesn't have to go forward at this time. It was a mission critical item. The services were already authorized, so we can wait until they're here to present the item next week.
Okay. So there's no more items, correct? Is there any public comment?
No public comment at this time.
I move to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Meeting is adjourned.